Hello and welcome to the NGRT studio on day 2 at Charge 2016, the world's first energy branding conference. We're joined by Stephanie Weiner, founder and chief executive officer at New England Smart Energy, and also Rune Kirt, who is managing director at Kirt Thomsen, a visual R&D consultancy. Just think about that. Okay, so I'm going to start off by giving you each a round to just tell us a bit more about yourselves. Stephanie, would you like to go first?
Sure. My company does energy efficiency for the utility programs in Connecticut. We've been doing it for close to 7 years now, and we work closely with the program. So I'm here because we also kind of co-market with the program, and I thought it was a good synergy for me.
Okay, and Rune, would you like to tell us about visual R&D consultancies?
Yeah, of course.
And what that actually means?
It's a bit tricky. In simple words, it's a design and innovation consultancy. So we support green technology innovations by actually helping to accelerate and optimize the innovation process, either from the very early stages of innovation towards the more commercialized stages. And it is actually to address the complexity that is very often present in the green technology developments within the green energy.
Great, and where are you based particularly?
We're based in Copenhagen, Denmark,
Okay.
but we work with internationally companies, all from small startup inventor companies to larger multinational companies, enterprises.
Okay, so that's a really interesting perspective we've now got here. And I'm going to touch on, basically ask you more about your perspective of the show so far. What were the key standout points for you, maybe perhaps from an energy efficiency perspective, or perhaps even from the R&D and technology perspective? So let's take it in turn. Stephanie.
So I think that, the whole concept of things changing is really important. I think that the utility programs in the world were kind of stagnant and thinking that they're the only players, and now the whole world is changing, and there's so many choices. I think that the utility companies need to kind of rethink their whole game. So, that's number one, and then I think number two is how to do it. How to brand. How to connect with customers, and in terms of my company, I know that we actually touch the customers on a daily basis.
Because you're at the coal face.
Where they're where in people's homes. We actually are the program. So I think it's really important that the utilities now think of it as a real customer-based program.
Okay.
So.
And Rune, would you like to tell us about sort of, especially from your view, what's been standout for you?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I was quite skeptical actually to participate in the conference to begin with, because actually we don't say that we work with branding. It's it's not the devil, but it's it's not what we prefer. We rather say that we work in the engineering phase and the creative phases. But I think what I really see and why I participate in this conference is that you could say the silo-based thinking need to be put together. So if you see it as a company, very simple, you could see there's an engineering department and there's a marketing sales department, and often they think separately. But if you if you can merge those two together, not completely, but make sure that the sales are involved in the development and the development are involved in the sales, I think you succeed with a much better product in the end and much better services. And
okay. Oh, sorry. I felt like I interrupted you there.
Yeah, but that's how I see energy branding. That you get the marketing and sales directly into the development process, the innovation processes.
It's quite interesting because as you were giving that picture of, changing from just engineers driving innovation and, looking at moving forward past siloed thinking, Stephanie was nodding repeatedly. I feel like you wanted to jump in. Is this sort of maybe what you were referring to about the wider context?
Well, I think that, like each division of the company now needs to think about the customer. It's not that like everybody's working in their own, space. It's more transparent now. It's more, it's more integrated, and I think that as new sources enter the energy world, it's going to be very competitive. So the companies really need to be a customer oriented entity going forward, and that means each division of the company.
Okay.
Not just the marketing.
Because I'd like to sort of carry on there, and you were very quick to point out, working on energy efficiency at the home, you're directly in contact with consumers. You're in their space, and a lot of the talk in there at the conference was, how do we do that?
How do you get in their space? Well, I think it'd be great if every company, offered energy efficiency. And it's funny, but a couple of the U.S. companies actually, approached me about it. But it appears that not every company does that. My state, Connecticut, has a fabulous program. I mean, it's really one of the best in the country, and they subsidize it highly. And it's a great service for the customer, and it's a great way for the utilities to actually kind of make friends with the customer and do a great service.
So this is like the partnership points, for example,
Yes.
that was talked about today, new partnerships
Yes.
for a new energy system.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Rune, the other conversation was the disconnect with engineers and the technology functions, and you quite pointed it out. When you started, you kind of really didn't talk to branding people, almost maybe veiled them like the enemy, so to speak. But things are changing now. So, how, in terms of where you are right now, is that something that you see that you'll be working with, startups in the renewable space to get them really to understand the brand impact, brand value of their
definitely.
solutions?
Like some of the startups that we are working with, we have actually addressing the branding issue before starting to develop solutions for them. They maybe contact us and say that ask to help develop some new concepts or new solutions for their product, but we actually see that they rather need a new identity or a new branding, a new visual communication to the external world, because that's often the case, that they become very engineered focused, which is of course also very important. It's key in the product, but you need also to be able to communicate what you're doing and to get the right perception to your customers or to the outer world of which kind of company you're actually building. We don't work with that kind of branding as a core competence ourselves, but then we collaborate with other smaller companies to actually lift that assignment, because we have the knowledge of creating the content and addressing exactly what should be the messages and so on. We know all that from the inside world to the outside world.
Okay.
But also I think actually another thing is that when you see the energy utilities, that's just one part in the whole energy value chain. You also have the OEMs who are producing all the energy materials, you have sub-suppliers, you have the distributors and so on. In this whole value chain, you have lots of stakeholders, not only the end user. The end user is of course important, but it is a market that is really influenced by politicians, by...
We were just discussing that.
Yeah, exactly. Big investments, huge investments, right? So it's not only the end customer that are driving the game, as I see it.
It's the banks, it's the financiers, it's it's everybody who's at stake here. It's so it's it really it's a very complex issue, and I think it's changing quickly, and I think that the companies that are going to be on top of this are going to win. If they don't really, kind of keep their pulse in it, then they're going to lose out, like, ultimately.
Okay. Well, I guess in order for us to round up this interview, I'm going to ask you each what the future holds. And this could either be from a personal perspective or how you see the industry, especially around sustainability and sustainable technologies, clean tech. Stephanie, do you want to go first?
Well, I just think that, energy efficiency is a must. I mean, it's a lowest, it's the lowest, hanging fruit, and it could reduce people's bills by like 40%, from the get-go, but that's my bias. And then on a large level, I'm excited to see like smart homes happening and, all these innovations that I think are going to completely, transform everything. And it could happen in 5 years, in 10 years, but it's going to happen. So I see that's where the future is going.
And obviously, I imagine there must be an element of, with all this change and all this promise, still keeping the customer at the center of all of this.
Well, yeah, and actually the customer will have choices now. So it's even, it's going to be more customer-centered because they could pick and choose. Currently, they can't in many places. So.
Okay, and Rune, perhaps from a T&D, or better still, a technology innovation perspective, what do you think the future holds? What's most exciting for you?
Yeah, I think it holds what you've seen so far in this value chain, energy value chain, as I would call it, is a very closed innovation loops. So even like the original material manufacturers, as for wind turbines or solar and so on, they've been very close around themselves because it's very competitive. It's really a growing industry and so on, so everybody has to be competitive around the technologies. But what I think I start to see a tendency now is that everybody starts to be a little bit more open, that you get actually, as an industry, better solutions if you collaborate. Of course, you should not share your core innovation with all the other competitors. You need to have some edge still, but there are a lot of innovations where you can collaborate and make even better products. You see it from the aviation industry. They have to collaborate every time there's mistakes of planes flying, crashing or other things. They just have to make solutions that work. And I think it's the same that you start to see, for instance, within the wind industry. That there are, of course, issues with products. There's always issues with products. But if you start to talk together about these issues, you can actually make solutions together instead of make individual solutions. And I think I start to see this tendency. So I think you could say the green energy industry in regards to innovation is becoming more open and more accelerated in that sense. And also, they are interested now in thinking more ahead, like thinking more radical innovation, like further out in the future. We are basically on the other side of the financial crisis somehow, so it's not that short-term innovation anymore.
Okay, well, thank you both for a really insightful interview.
Thank you.
Okay, and thank you as well for tuning into this interview. If you'd like to hear more about energy efficiency, open innovation platforms, and obviously customer centricity in the middle of all of this, please check out the other interviews as well, and also feel free to check out the links on your screen. Thank you.